Hey everyone, it's Darren. Welcome. We have a few really simple functions today, but they have the ability to be very complex because they tend to go pretty deep. These are the left, right, and mid functions in Excel. They're the functions that do all the real heavy lifting work in text parsing. So when you're cutting up strings, these are the three functions that actually cut them up for you. Left takes the part of the string, right takes the right part of the string, and mid just takes a piece right out of the center. So let's look at them in their most basic form here. The most basic form, start with left. Text is A1, and I want 3 characters. Okay, that's pretty easy. Come over here and we'll do right. Works the same way. A1, and I want 5 characters. Okay, mid is a little bit trickier, but not too much. There's A1 again. And I'd have starting character, which is going to be 4, and then I want 3 characters. And here's the first thing you're always going to run into when you're doing text parsing. You can see that I actually have a space at the beginning of the TW for 2, and that's because the fourth character here is in fact the space, not the T. Uh, So two things that came up. One is that I have an extra space in there, which you can clean out with the trim function. The second thing is that actually needs to start at 5, not 4. And you'll run into this a lot. The other thing you'll run into is you might have spaces at the end. And the way to fix that is to use the trim function. And you can use it at any point, you can use it everywhere. It doesn't really hurt anything to use trim more often than you would think you need it. It's a really quick function. It's pretty harmless. Uh, so I would say that's all there is to left, right, and mid, except you'll never use it like I just used it here. And the reason is, as I'm using it here, I have one row of data, and I can very easily see what's there. And I could have just typed the 1, 2, and 3, because we typed it faster than I typed that equation in. Normally, you have to use it using search and find in order to actually find where to break it up. Search and find, there's links in the description to more detailed videos on those. They work the same way, except find is case sensitive and search is not case sensitive. Other than that, they work the same way. So let's see how we do it with search and find. So we're actually going to just use find because like I said, search works the same way. So if I do left A1, and then I want to find uh, so the text I'm looking for in this case, I'm looking for a space. Oh, actually, I don't need to worry about that here. Yes, I do. Looking for a space within A1 and close out the parentheses. And it gives me 1. And that's fine. Everything's exactly what I wanted. Now, how do I get the second one? Well, this is going to be mid, and the start is, of course, still A1. The text is still A1. The starting number in this case is going to be find space A1. Oh, sorry. And then I need the length. And the length is going to be where stuff starts to get more complicated. The length, I need to find where that second space is. So to find that, it's find, still looking for a space, uh, within text A1. But in this case, I want to use the third parameter, which is where to start looking, which is going to be find the space within A1 plus 1. Because I don't want to find the first space again because that won't get me anywhere useful. Okay, and that gave me too much. And the reason it did, so it gave me, this is where I mentioned it starts to get complicated because what I actually have is everything is pretty good except this has to be len minus of A1 minus that. Okay, so what we're looking at here, and you've got an extra space on there, so let's clean up the extra space, which is trim that. Okay, so let's look at what this is really doing here. So trim all of that stuff. That just says if there's space at the beginning, if there's space at the end, get rid of it. I don't want it. Okay, so that part's easy. Um, mid and all of this stuff here is just like we had mid here. It's you have a string, a starting point, and a length. Okay, this is your starting point, which just goes in and finds the first space. And then to find how many characters we want, though, what we have to do is take the total length of the string, subtract out the length of the stuff up to the second space, and that gives you the results. Now this is getting really ugly, and this is only for a second column. You have the third column; it almost doubles this length. Think of it if you're doing 20 columns of text. That's just gets completely out of hand. And that's where you start to use intermediate columns with these, and it's a little bit more work, but it definitely saves you a lot of nightmares. And the way you use intermediate columns is just this. So we'll do the first one is going to be, let's just come over here. First one's going to be exactly the same. So I want to do left of A1, find space within A1, and that gives me one. Great, everything I wanted. Now the second column, instead of this really ugly thing here, I'm going to use an intermediate column. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw away that first part. So I'm going to do right instead of using mid here. I'm going to use right A1. And the number of characters I want is len of A1 minus the position of that first space. And then close the parentheses. And it gives me 2, 3. So now I have one, and that's the column I want. And this is more stuff. And this is basically everything else. This is the part I haven't finished working on yet. So now I can go over here and I can do, sorry, I can do left of G1 in this case, find space within G1, and that gives me 2. And now if I have to keep going, I could almost just copy this one over, but that's going to be equals right of G1, and this is find len of G1 minus, oh, sorry, it's find space. So it's right at G1, and the position is find space G1 actually. And that's pretty much the same function. So if you look at this function and you look at this function, all that's changed is this one's looking at this string, this one's looking at this string, and you could basically just keep repeating these two cells over and over for as many columns as you have. So you could treat this if you had more, if you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this would be your intermediate, then you parse it out and just keep going. And then when you're done, what you can do is you can either just hide the column and you don't have to worry about it. Or if you want to, you can actually just copy and paste values or anything like that. It depends on what you're going to do with the data. But this is how you break down text using left, right, and mid. Uh, and you can do that whether you know what the lengths are, which would be in the case of fixed width text strings, or when you don't, but you know there's something like a space or a comma or a colon or something in between it, which is delimited strings. And we're going to go into a lot more depth on exactly how to do this in the text parsing video, which is the next video that I have coming out. Uh, so I'll have a link to that down in the description as soon as I release it. I have links to the len, search, and find uh, functions down in the description right now. So if you enjoyed this video, got anything from it, please hit like and subscribe for future videos. That really helps to spread this channel. I also have a Patreon page set up at patreon.com/data analysis excellence. Hopefully see you soon.